X-Files: The Hidden Legend of Yosemite Black Sam, Volume 1. Written by Sammy L. Nunn III, co-author Ronald H. Mitchell. Yosemite. The Miwok gave the Anahuachi people, the local indigenous tribe, the name Yosemite, which is derived from Yometi. They are killers. In Miwok, the area's sole native inhabitants of the Anahuachi used to name it Awahi, Big Mouth before. Scenario Part 1. Seattle, Washington. Steve Steakhouse. The night was seasoningly warm, an easterly breeze blowing gently beneath the sparkling lights of uptown Seattle as a late-model black Cadillac sedan pulled up next to the curb in front of Steve Steakhouse and parked. Its driver, a large-barreled chested man in a dark suit, stepped out in the balmy evening, quickly crossing around the rear of the caddy to open the door for the 68-year-old Vincent Nicoletti, a local businessman and reputed boss of Seattle La Cosa Nostra. The two men were met at the door by a stately old head writer, and quietly shown their reserved table near a window. A glass of wine, perhaps, Mr. Nicoletti. The maitre d' gave a slight nod of his graying head. Bring us a bottle of Rothschild. Yes, the old waiter bowed slightly before heading off. So, the big man said after the waiter had left, you think this Moosley's going to come in with us or what? Vincent Nicoletti considered his driver's word for several seconds before answering. I think you should show more respect for Benjamin, Victor, the Don admonished. He's not a man to be taken lightly, even if he's black. This thing he's doing has run with sheer mental aptitude and proves his character. You don't find those things in your average nigga, he said, turning to look out the early evening traffic. Benjamin was a force to be reckoned. The old Don acknowledged quietly in thought, and had far succeeded where he and his family had failed, sheer will and in learning from the mistakes of others. The man ran the biggest numbers racket in the entire northern region, along with the narcotic trade, money laundering, and fencing interests. Getting the man to come order his umbrella was going to be a sensitive undertaking, and most likely a little bit of pressure would have to be applied. Chicago wouldn't like this, his attempt in bringing the man over to his side, but what can the man say? He hadn't encroached on anyone's turf. Guy operated in Seattle as well as Chicago, so he was at most to open courtship from the Seattle faction as he was to Chicago, the like who had failed to bring the black into their fold, and now it was his turn. The Don muled, shoving aside his thoughts as the wine was poured into the glass for him. Anything else, Mr. Nicoletti? Give us a few minutes, the Don said. I'm expecting company any moment. Very good, sir, the waiter retreated. Toast, Nicoletti said, holding up his glass with one bony, veined hand now blotched with age, to the successful conclusion of our meeting here tonight. Victor held up his glass. The two clinked. Salute, the big man said. Salute, the Don acknowledged before turning up his glass for a drink. The champagne-colored Porsche Carrera slid through traffic with graceful speed as it swung from the Jefferson Street off-ramp of 1-5 and headed into downtown Seattle. Its driver, Benjamin, Big Ben Creed, expertly wheeled the sleek machine into the rear parking lot of Steve's Steakhouse, stepped out onto the darkened lot, nodded to a silent passenger, and headed inside the restaurant. Benjamin was met by the head waiter and led quietly to the rear window seat where the man he'd come to see sat sipping a glass of wine, looking like a corporate lawyer in his dark blue suit, crisp white shirt and tie. Ben wore black slacks, shoes, and a silk shirt. He neared the table where Nicoletti and his bodyguard sat, now getting to their feet as he came to the table. Nicoletti had held out a hand. Benjamin shook it. Both men now seated themselves before the maitre d' appeared to take their orders. I'll have a glass of Hennessy, Ben said, his smooth, dark features almost glowing beneath the soft candlelight of the table, his clear brown eyes lazily moving over his surroundings before coming to rest on the two Italians. The waiter withdrew. Nicoletti spoke first. I'm very pleased you can make it, the Don said. I hope that by the end of our talk you will consider me as a friend, as I honestly look to effect a beneficial arrangement for us both. Ben nodded but remained silent, indicating that Nicoletti should continue. You have quit the operation here in Seattle, I'm told. Nicoletti smiled, his hands brought together whispered beneath his chin. I commend you on your success, and I'm in the unique position to add that. Oh, yeah? Ben watched the man intently. Yes. How so? Nicoletti grinned. You don't waste words. I like that. Benjamin nodded acceptingly. You have shipments of merchandise moving into the western half of the state, Nicoletti said knowingly, and you're doing anywhere from 400 to 600 units per month. I can give you the eastern half state as well as Oregon and Idaho. Ben eyed the man quietly as he quickly did the math on the proposal. The numbers were astronomical, but wasn't quite good enough to climb into the bed with the Seattle mob, he decided, before his drink arrived and the two men ordered dinner. What you suppose sounds good, Ben said, sitting back in his chair and crossing his legs. But what's the cut gonna cost me? It was time for Nicoletti to silently consider the other man's questions, which the answers would be the maker or breaker of the deal. Rather than answers, he added bonus, I understand you also in the gun market. I've got friends in the market at the highest levels, and I see no reason why you shouldn't have an opportunity to benefit from their services. Nicoletti finished, sipping his drink and waiting for Ben's response. It was truly that he had indeed dabbled with guns recently. He'd accepted a small shipment a few months prior through his fencing operation and made a nice profit, but he wasn't looking to deal regularly with them. He already had the DEA and the FBI to worry about without adding to the ATF to the list. Oh, adding. But Ben thought, sipping his glass of wine before repeating the question. Let's say we did business, Ben said thoughtfully. How big a cut are we talking? 60, 40, 50-50, 70-30? What? I'd say 50-50 would be justified, Nicoletti said. And would this be limited to our joint dealings or my overall operation?